We gotta start at 4.
Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Listen, every time I say we're gonna start early,
Not me, I won't, no, I won't. It's hard to get through everything.
I have to pee. Other teacher. I should have said that.
No, he didn't. All right, whoa. So now, before we have budget review, can we, Giovanni, you ready to start? Okay. Some people might have to go to the bathroom, so you guys, we're back into the regular session? 6:20. Heather, do I have to do anything with the tape?
No, it's good.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're sorry. Is it 6:20 or 6:30? 6:20. Giovanna.
Hi, my name is Giovanna Neal. I'm the accounting director here at the township, and I'd like to just go over our draft budget changes that we've made. You were originally given the budget, the draft budget of proposed numbers back in August, the end of August, I think August 30th, or the 29th, somewhere around there. We gave you the draft. And then the meetings from September through November, we've tried to do overviews and review all of our budgets, each of the departments and each of the funds. So there was some changes made. I did try to keep you updated on those as we did our meetings through the month. And then what I'd like to do now is go ahead and show you all of the changes that were made since the original budget that you received. So all the numbers that were changed is on the list of numbers. Yes, so, yeah. So what I've done is I put a memo together that did not come in the original packet. It wasn't very clear. I have all these changes that I gave you, and I didn't really give you a memo to explain them. So I do apologize. So I did do a real quick memo today, and you have that. We put it in the packet. That will be in the public meeting as well of what those changes involved. And so I'll just go over what I have in my memo, because the biggest thing on here is going to be involving wages and fringes. All right. So the first thing that I changed from the original was the health insurance. We did get a decrease of 4.96%, but I had actually increased that almost 20% when I did the original budget. So that all went down. And those numbers all end in the 719000. So if you look through the columns, anything with a 700 is basically going to be either wages or it's going to be fringes. That's how we've got the accounting chart classifications. I did go ahead and put in the 2.75% increase, what's under consideration for the Teamsters and non-union employees. I went ahead and did this because, as you can see from here, the wages are anywhere from a 702 to a 705, even a 706. Most of them are in here, so it affected that. So I wanted to make sure that we saw going into 22 what that would look like, instead of having to come back and do a budget amendment, which would have all of these pages to do budget amendments. So I'd like to put that in there right at the beginning. So I did put the 2.75 for all of the Teamsters and non-union employees, at your consideration. If it's approved or not approved, it'll be there, but we will not use it if it's not approved. So it's just there, as a holder, so that we can actually see what we are looking at. The other thing that I did have to change was we did have 2 persons that retired after I actually gave you the original. So that changed the allocation of the MERS and the OPEB. It didn't change the overall number, but what it did change was the allocation into which departments. So that was a big adjustment that I had to make through there. So I did make that change. It affected the MERS and the OPEB both. So you'll see those numbers are the 718 and the 718003. And when I'm saying that, it's the ending numbers. So all of these changes that you can look down through here, most of them are in the 700 range. The next change that I made also had to do with retirements. The retirements opened up different positions, and so we have some that are filled now with other people, and then we have some that are open. I did try to move the people who accepted some of the positions, and I moved them to the new ones. And then the open position that we are not sure of yet, if we were going to hire them, we always put that position wages plus a family coverage for their insurances. So that I put that in there too, of those open positions. The other thing that I have in there is a $25,000 postage for elections. I didn't put any, originally I didn't put any in the elections for their postage. So I did put $25,000, I budgeted there. I did move that from the general budget. So it's not an additional amount, it's just, again, I moved it from one place to another, the $25,000. Next, I have an additional $200,000 that I put into the drains at large, which is in our general fund, the 101-445-818-025. And what we had, the addition was $50,000 for emergency maintenance of Ford Lake Village drain number 1. So they'll be charging us for that. And then also $150,000 for the extermination of vermin in the drains. So those were additions that we did put on. The other change is for in 101-004, so no, I'm sorry, not 101-446, which is the Department for Highways. We did put an additional $25,605 into the roads because of the textile flashing beacon crossing. That was approved back in 2020. They didn't get to it this year in 21, and it's still on their list and they said they would get to it in 22. So I wanted to carry that forward into 22. The other additions that I have are for legal services. I increased those $75,000 in the community stabilization public nuisance and $25,000 in the land use issues. This was to adjust it to meet the historic expenditures. You will see on our budget amendment, I do have to change that again today. We did lower that down. We thought we might not have as many blighted problems, but we do. So that's kind of where that's from. Is there any questions? If you have any questions on these changes, please let me know. The other changes was to the amount that the general fund would have to supplement the court for. That did decrease by $67,476. So that was a good thing. So that did decrease. The fire department, I put an additional $95,000 into contractual professional services for a fire marshal who would kind of oversee the investigations and plan reviews. Our fire marshal will be retiring at the end of December, and until we get someone on board, we will need to have someone to step in and help. So that was an addition added. In our BSR2 fund, we usually take from there, not usually, we take from there and give to the recreation and the golf course as needed. We did decrease both of those. So there was a decrease, not a lot, but it was a decrease that we needed to give the recreation by $5,707 and decrease the golf course by $7,227. And it coincides with the revenue in each of those funds as well. So The next thing I have is also in the BSR2 fund. It's for $89,000 increase for equipment line. This is for the approved mower that, for this year. It's not going to be delivered until '22. So you pay for it in the year that the goods and service are issued. So we have to just carry that forward into 2022. So that's what that is for. The next thing we did is also in BSR 20, or BSR 2 fund, is an additional to the capital projects for Huron Pathway. We added $91,689 for streetlights to the Pathway project, and then an additional $173,046 for the collaboration of the Bridge Pathway project, and that's for the construction and streetlights. So I did put those in there. We found that, late, I think, after our meeting. So, let's see, the next thing I have is I did add $5,000 for environmental services for memberships and dues. The building department fund, I decreased the amount for a vehicle. I think I had $35,000. I moved that down to $29,000. Then motor pool, there was an increase for $28,000 for a vehicle. Again, that's a carry forward. That was approved this year. We will not get delivery of that vehicle until 2022, so that had to be carried forward. So, and then all of the numbers that are ending in the 699999 is the appropriated prior year fund balance. Those are the amounts that we need to pull from our fund balances in order to balance our funds. But that covers all of the changes, all the numbers. So does anybody have any questions on those?
Any questions?
Just a comment. I was going through the information, and I tried to reconcile it with the what was that? The summarized line.
The narrative?
The narrative.
Yeah.
At the end, with the funds, with all of the funds, and didn't see the balances equaling until I saw the next narrative. And so, but my first thought was, why, this is confusing, so instead of showing the first part, why not show the second part until I got the full picture? And then that's where, the budget adjustments came in, and then it all came together.
Exactly. We had to get the public notice published in order for us to have our public comments tonight. A lot of this stuff happened after we published that. I was on vacation, so when I did get back, we had stuff that we found out, and we hurried up and we went ahead and made the revised public notification. We will be publishing this again Thursday for, in our legal.
Yeah. It's not required.
In the legal
but we're
news.
going
It's
to.
not required, but we would like to push that out there since it is a revision, and it did cover quite a bit. So we'll be posting that out again. We also have it copied for later this afternoon, not this afternoon, but this evening in our public comments. We have that published again. So the original, and then we have the revised, which we will send out.
Before we vote on the final budget. And, we can amend a budget at any time that we want. And we do them all, just about every meeting, especially if a special project comes up or something pops up. And what we're trying to do is not have as many budget amendments in the beginning of the year by carrying over projects. So now that we know it's towards the end of the year, we know what's not going to be, what we're not going to receive, so we're going to rebudget it. And it just makes it a lot easier on,
It does make
is.
that first meeting in January much easier, because usually I have to come back with all these entries that, that have to carry over for the year,
So-
because we do have purchase orders on them, so they're encumbered. And if we don't budget for them, they're negative. So I have to make sure that we have funds in there for them.
so we'll have a public hearing and listen to public comment And if there's not any, and based on the revisions Giovanna went over in work session, then we'll publish it again and then adopt it at the next meeting. We are required by law to adopt it by 12/31, so we will. All right.
All right,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions of Giovanna?
No, all set?
All right, the next item on the agenda is minutes of the work session and regular meeting.
Which we're going to table our minutes if it's okay with everyone. We can still do the rest of the consent agenda. There's just, was there an oversight on my part, and I apologize for that. So if you don't mind holding those until the next meeting, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, Heather wanted, and I think it's a good point, to put more comments in AATA because they were asking for our comments, and so I think that's a good idea. So we'll table, remove them or just table them?
Whatever takes you.
And under new business, we have the approval of the 2022 poverty exemption guidelines and application. Brian McCleary is here. We have to do these every year. And I don't know if there's any questions on it. Huh?
Oh, you're right. Yep.
It's on our website, the county, Catherine McCleary, its office works with people on it as well.
Yes.
And
They have a foreclosure prevention program, so they have access on their website, and then their attorneys and everybody that's working with the residents will also refer them to us for the poverty exemption, and we have it on our website. And then there's the Housing Bureau for Seniors that works with seniors in filling the forms out, and they refer, and so they all get copies of our forms and our resolution and our current income guidelines on it. And so, and our staff would sit down with people, call them, to kind of work through sometimes people don't know how to fill the forms out. We'll sit down and work with them, filling the forms out, and just making sure they have everything. And then one of the things that we also notice is a lot of times people will tell residents that they don't necessarily need to file their Michigan income tax because they don't make any money or they make too little money. But if you own a house in Michigan, regardless of any kind of money you make, you should be filing your state taxes because you get a homestead credit and you get money back. I believe it's up to $1,500 that you will get back. So we always encourage people to fill those forms out. Was there any other questions?
are there any other questions on this? So we have to do it every year.
Yes.
All right. The next item on the agenda, thank you, Brian. Is it all right? Brian has an appointment. Does he need to stay for the meeting? No? Are you guys comfortable? Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda is request to appoint an interim recreation services manager with a wage adjustment. Angela Burgess is retiring, and so the proposal, where's Karen? Okay. As a memo states, the proposal is to move John Hines, who is the deputy supervisor, to the interim recreation position, services manager. So this allows that to happen, and I think the starting date is the 27th. Is that right? The 27th?
Sorry,
No problem. No problem.
the attorney was wanting to talk to me. Yes, it would go up to, his wage would be increased due that he would have additional duties as the interim.
December 20th, you have it.
Yes.
So basically, Angie retired suddenly. Well, she had her time in, and
Right. I'm sorry. I need to come. I'm still thinking of my conversation with Doug. Angie has put in her paperwork. She is retiring. And so we're in a position where we have two literally brand-new recreation coordinators over there. The one has 4 months, and the one literally has,
2 weeks.
2 weeks, maybe? So we needed somebody that had some knowledge of what goes on over at the community center and has a recreation background, which John does. And so it just kind of worked out that not only had he worked there, but he also has the background that we would need for that position. So we would be looking at moving him over as an interim recreation services manager. And then we, as I mentioned in my memo, we are going to, after the first of the year, actually look at what we want to do with that position. That position at one point held, as a recreation director, held responsibility of the parks and all that. So we're just going to look over the township, where we're at now, what we need, our needs in that area, and bring back a recommendation. We did not have time to do that because we were really not expecting Angie to retire. So we just need a little bit more time to look over everything. So, any questions? And we're sure John can step in and do a good job as well.
I know, yeah. We're confident because he was over there working previously. And then
Absolutely.
we moved him to deputy when the rec position, the recreation center was not
Right.
operating because of COVID.
Right.
And through it all, I mean, John has really learned a lot about the budget and the administrative duties and responsibilities. So it's very good for the recreation department.
Yes, and
Not
I
as
think
good
it'd
for
be
me.
good to have him there for the new recreation coordinators. I mean, his knowledge and things that he has of the township, I think it'd be very beneficial to the new recreation coordinators as well.
And he continued to be the sports coordinator or youth, sports coordinator. The whole time he was
Right.
working for me, so. All right. And
We're going to miss you here, John.
Yes.
We'll throw in go-away party.
So does that mean a deputy supervisor position will be available, or?
It's a political appointment, but yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Once again, yes. But this is a good move for the organization, for sure. I know that. I have full faith in John's abilities. I've worked with him for almost a year now, so it's been a great opportunity, and appreciate all your help with the budget. And, it's going to be good. Rec is going to be in a better place, and we're going to miss Angela Burgess like no tomorrow, though. I've known her forever, and I'm really going to miss her. What?
I just thought about the first time that, I went upstairs and John, you were Brenda's new deputy. I'll tell you the story later. It was good. It was a good memory. Yeah.
I forgot his name, and he was my deputy, I think. Was that it? Is that what happened? But because he was so new to everyone. But it's been great. We've had a tough year, and we've learned a lot. And John, I really do appreciate all your help, and know that you will do well in recreation, overseeing it, and we'll bring the recommendations back. Our recreation department we're in a good position, and I think the numbers are increasing, and with Robin, over helping with the Rangers and the parks, I mean, it's really I'm feeling really good about where we're at with Parks and Recreation. So we got to keep building on it, but good job by everyone. And we'll greatly miss everyone that's retiring, including Carly and Ruby Walker in the clerk's office. So we have a lot of changes, right, this year. All right. The next item on the agenda is to approve a change order for the Loon Feather Point Park renovation in the amount of $10,335.60. It is budgeted. We reduced it originally, and then now we have to do it's still it's under budget. Michael.
Mike Hoffmeister, Residential Services Director. Yes, this is a change order related to the Loon Feather Park renovation project. This increase does include 2 additional trees that we had to remove due to the grading of the new ADA accessible trail leading down to the docks, as well as some additional electrical investigation and some additional electrical work in the restroom building after our electrician got in there and discovered it was a little bit messier than they thought, so.
right. Questions on that? Good job on that. The next item is the updated township financial policy. We had a presentation on it the last meeting. Still have a couple.
Hi, Giovanna Neal, Accounting Director. I'd like to bring forth the new financial policy for your consideration to approve and adopt. This will have our procurement procedures in there, federal awards, grants, procedures, ethics, equipment disposal, sale of township property. So those are kind of all built into this financial policy currently. I just would go over the summary. I think that is on page 429. Yeah, all the way down to the end. The only changes I really did make was I did hear that we needed to probably remove the word verbal. So we do have the word verbal taken out, and we will get written or email copies, some hard copy of the quotes bids. So that was taken out. I left the ranges as they were, requiring purchase orders for all purchases. I think I went over all of this last meeting, unless anybody has any questions. I did change the, in the $10,000 to the $15,000 section, I did change that. We did have purchase agent, so that was taken out of here, and it's the township supervisor and one other full-time elected official, and the department supervisor.
Said at least one other full-time elected official, and I just wondered, like, what's the process? And that makes sense to me, that having to get all three could be difficult, but then I also thought, the board gets along really well. It could also be a source of problem where if two people constantly did something and somebody was left out. So what's the process for making sure, like, everybody knows? Even if two people are agreeing to it, like, how would the other person maybe know that those things are happening? Would it just happen at a board meeting, or how would it happen? Because I wouldn't want it to be the case where an individual was left out on purpose.
That's a good thought. I did not think that, because we do have to have the POs, so the PO in the system is transparent. We could bring those back for the board to just let them know.
Or even if there's an internal way, I'm not suggesting it, I don't know, because I don't work in that environment, but it just seems to me that you would want all three to have some idea of what's going on if two are signing something. So I don't know if there's an internal way to say, we did this or whatever. I don't know. That was just one question that I had. Currently, maybe not a problem, but when it's written into a policy, depending on individuals, it could,
Where you leave someone
an
out.
unintended consequence that would happen, so.
It is,
Which one are,
that's a good thought. The $10,000 to $15,000 range where it has the township supervisor and one other full-time elected official. We could change that to both of them, but if somebody were on vacation, although, you shouldn't be on vacation for a whole month or, 3 weeks, but.
Most of us have a,
well,
Most
if
of the
we
time,
don't
people are
agree,
here.
we can bring it to the board. That's all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe that could be an answer.
I think Debbie, that's a good question right now.
It
I think
is.
it's a great, we work really well as a team together. But I'm thinking of other instances where we do this, where we'll do public nuisance abatements to get administrative approval first. They usually email the 3 full-time elected officials. And I believe in that situation, it requires 2 of the 3 of us to say yes, but we all say yes. And the same thing for PTO payouts. Karen Wallen always emails all 3 of us requesting, our approval. So it could be something as simple, as just, hey, we wanted to include you in an email. But, I think it's a good point that you bring up. And of course, they
And we
always-
we could definitely change it to the two other full-time.
And if I were requesting something, I feel like I would, if I wanted something, I would ask all three people, because then like I'm more likely to get buy-in from all of them, if I'm transparent, but you're
I
right.
think we were just nervous because we increased it, and we wanted to make sure that one person didn't have all the authority like the supervisor.
Exactly.
To be honest, Or if, I actually took time off and wasn't here to do something, and didn't take my computer with me, then two other. Actually, I always do, you're right. Yeah, you're right, that was a bad one. Anyways,
So would we like to change that? What's your feelings on that? I mean, it wouldn't take very much to just put the two other full-time elected officials.
it's just a lot of
just-
money, and we wanted another check and balance, that's all it was.
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable
With just the
having just one
supervisor and the,
supervisor do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
so,
Could it just be a change of saying with notice to all three full-time elected officials, but like the approval only requires the two?
we could add that. So we could add that. Did you want me to add that and bring this back next meeting, or approve this with the agreement that will change the wording?
Let's do that one.
No, we have to do it now. Oh, okay. Right, because we have to
Yeah,
have it by 12:31.
I do have to have this approved by the end of the year
Well, we
because
can
of the
amend a
grant.
purchasing policy at any time. So if it's not functioning well,
That's
we can bring it back and say this is
Exactly. If this is not going to work, we'll know right away. The policy, having a policy instead of an ordinance makes it much easier to amend and revise. And I will have to bring it, actually, I'll have to bring it back in '22 because I need to do an investment policy procedure, debt policy procedure, travel policy. So there's a couple things that I have. Actually, the travel policy is ready. I didn't get it put in here. But there's several things that I need to actually put back, in here. The credit card policy, which we already have and it's approved, it's just not in here separate. So what I'd like to do is integrate that all into the financial policy. So I'll bring that back in '22, but for now, this kind of covers the major one is the procurement policy and the federal awards that I really do need to have approved before the end of the year. So if you would like me to make that change, we can make that change, and
It just seems like the last line says elected official with attached approval memo, including, just all three in that memo. They don't have to sign it, but
Okay,
all
just-
three are included in the memo.
okay, so you want me to put
Approval.
all elected officials attached, let's see, with attached approval memo to all three elected officials?
Yeah.
Full-time, okay, got
And
it.
if the officials don't want to do it, the department head can bring it to the next meeting. So there's still
Exactly.
a way, and all of these have purchase orders, and it still is going to go through checks and balances, but maybe it was just because it was a higher amount than what I'm used to approving, yeah. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. The next item is budget amendments. We'll we'll probably do that contingent upon the attorney approve, if it's all right with the board. We'll do it, to make sure the MCLs and all that. Giovanna, we're just going to also add contingent upon attorney approval, if that's okay? We have the budget amendments and request, are there any questions on that? And we have the request to approve the contract with JFR Architects for the engineering and professional services for Phase 1 of the 14B Court and Civic Center site security project that we've been talking about for years. So, can we take a break?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
We have 6 minutes. I'm going to take a break.
It's 6:54.
6:54.